Hey there, and welcome to the Audacious Agency Hot Seat, where we share entrepreneurial stories to inspire and motivate you to rocket launch your brand. I'm your host, Lauren Clement, the brand navigator. Welcome to the Hot Seat. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Audacious Hot Seat. And I'm very excited because we have the most amazing guru on board with us today, and he's entertaining as all hell. The lovely Prosper Taruvinga. It's lovely to see you, Prosper. Please let the listeners know who you are and where you're from and a bit of your story behind your business.
Fantastic, Lauren. I was just sitting here wondering who you're talking about. And then it dawned on me that it's just the two of us on this call today. So I appreciate that. Absolutely. Now, as you have said, Lauren, my name is Prosper Taruvinga, and I was born in Zimbabwe, and I moved to Australia about 11 years ago and started my digital marketing agency, where we are helping consultants and other small to medium businesses to make sense of the world around them.
Yeah, brilliant. I love it. It's funny, actually, Prosper, it's something else we've got in common. It was about 11 years ago, or just over 11 years, I moved to Australia as well. And my major challenge, I'm sure, was very similar in that you had no contacts here, right? You had no one that you knew here that you could go, right, let's start a business. Let's get into this. Was that a big problem for you?
Fantastic. So, it's quite funny that we came in right about at the same time. We could have waved at each other at the airport and you would have thought, who is this crazy guy? But, like what you've just said, when I arrived in Australia, I knew no one. I was just coming to Australia for greener pastures, having come from a country that was not exactly war-torn, but we were on the verge of getting to that. But we were having a lot of financial problems that really prompted me to come to Australia. So as I arrived here, I had nothing but a backpack full of hopes and dreams, and hoping that I would, get a piece of the Australian dream, And, back in that time, Melbourne was regarded as one of the most livable cities in the world. So that was appealing in and of itself, that I was going to at least try and create a better future for myself and whatever family I was going to have after that. So, yeah, pretty much.
So you came to Australia with a set of skills. Have those skills been of any use to you, or have you had to just completely change what you do now that you're here in Australia?
Fantastic. You see, the one skill that I think I have is the gift of the gab. I think I can talk, and the more you can talk and connect with people, the more opportunities and adventures come into play. The first job that I did literally was work in a restaurant, and that is not what I'm doing right now. I was washing pans and pots, at the back of a very famous and well-known restaurant here in Melbourne. But getting back to what we said earlier on, when I came, I knew no one. So what I did at that restaurant then sort of set the foundation of what my agency became. Now, Lorraine, I went on and I created a Facebook page for that restaurant because I only wanted to connect with the people that I was working with at that time. But that almost got me fired. And it almost made me lose my job, because back in that time, the internet and Facebook pages was just predominantly there for bad reviews. So there were places like Zomato and Urban Spoon that restaurants would go to and claim a profile, and then at least manage their online reputation there. Facebook was not the place to do that. So I almost got fired for starting a Facebook page, for the restaurant that I was working on, only because I wanted to connect with people.
That's hilarious. I love that, because now, if you look back on that, that's where you live now. You live in that digital world, building people's profiles, making them be, really known and noticed online. Isn't that hilarious? So you almost were ahead of the game. You were ahead of yourself in terms of where you saw business going. When did it change for you, Prosper, that you thought to yourself, right, I'm going to get out of this, restaurant job. What made you decide to start your own agency and get into that digital world?
Fantastic. You're absolutely right about being ahead of the game, because you can only connect the dots looking backwards. You cannot connect them, at the time that you are, living in that space. So when I created that page, the owner of the business started noticing that people were tagging themselves and checking into the Facebook page, which is something that was new, and was only those that were also ahead of their time that were doing that. All right. He had already asked me to delete this page, and it does take time for a page to be deleted. But in between that time, people started tagging themselves and taking photos and adding the page, and it almost started organically creating itself and being a body of content. Now, as soon as he noticed that side of attraction, he told me to stop whatever I was doing in the kitchen and come upstairs and start working on the computer. That's what he called it. You do the computer now. So, I was still shaky. I didn't even know what I was supposed to be doing then. And I went to the library, took books on social media and marketing and everything else. And then I just started studying just so that I don't get caught out. Remember, I almost got fired. So I wanted to make sure I'm getting this right. So long story short, we started inviting models, football players, and celebrities to come and have a meal at the restaurant so that they could publicize to their networks. Little did we know that was the crust or the beginning of influencer marketing, and that then started, opening up channels for me to get into the modeling world so that I find more models. And I eventually became one, just so, if you
so you're a man of many talents, Prosper. I love this story. I think the listeners will be just going, oh my goodness. So you came to this country, you bought a house, you'd recently gotten married, so you're a husband now, you're a dad, you've had children, you've been working in restaurants, you've been now out of the sink and up to the office working on the computer, and then you become a model. I mean, tell me a bit about that. I mean, obviously the age of the influencer was just very, very new. What was that experience like, stepping over into that world?
Absolutely. So we started discovering that models actually don't get paid to appear on most magazines or to appear on social media. That was a very cool discovery, because a lot of people think they get paid. There's what's called time for print or exchange or contra, where they exchange their time, their face for goods and services. So I started noticing that a lot of the models that we were bringing in, they didn't quite have anything else after that, or they didn't quite have any other jobs lined up for them. So I then took it upon myself to create a platform where I started getting models jobs, and we called that iconic image Melbourne, right? We started doing networking events for models and everything else. And I think that's when I came across your office and I got interviewed in the Y magazine. That's when I started getting really up and coming in the whole model sector, because I was getting jobs for these people. So they literally started looking up to me. Instead of me trying to get jobs for myself, I was out there representing the whole industry. And from then on, I started meeting up with businesses that were also in search of models so they could use them on their Instagram profile. And I then realized that, okay, they take these photos, they do stuff with these models, but they're not marketing that material to the actual customers who would then buy. So every one of these steps that I was jumping into, it was like opening up an onion, and getting into different levels. The more I was getting to understand the intricacies of how models got jobs, I discovered that shops that were hiring them were not marketing their business. And then I discovered that I could actually start helping them market their business. And all in all, things started happening, and we actually now started creating what now became Livelong Digital Marketing Agency for small to medium businesses.
Yeah, I love it. Brilliant. And so what I like about this is, as you say, it's a little bit like peeling that onion. And you've basically taken a marketplace, small to medium-sized business who like the idea of using influencers, they like the idea of digital marketing, they just don't know how to do it properly. And you're finding all those little traps that they are falling into and saying, well, look, here's a solution. So that seems to me to be something that you've sort of grown over time. It's been a bit of an organic growth for your business. But what are you most proud of achieving with your business so far and with what you've been doing and, you know, with Livelong and the changes that you've been making for businesses?
Fantastic. I can count maybe 15 or so businesses that are now profitable. You know, things that when people are starting their business, they don't know what the next step would be, and they don't know if their investment is going to be fruitful or not. But a specific example is a lady who started off as a chef, and she developed what's called carpal tunnel syndrome, which basically means she couldn't actually do her job. So she came to me crying the other day and said, I always see your content, I always see your stuff, but I'm not good at anything. And I asked her one question: what can you do that not a lot of people can do? Or what recipe do you have, or recipes do you have as a chef that people can make by themselves, that you can start selling as a product? And then she didn't know back then, but she then came back to me and said, you know what, my grandma had a recipe to create chutneys. And I was like, very well. And then she went in and started creating those chutneys. Now she has a fully fledged chutney business, and she's even written a book which basically encompasses all the recipes that she has. If I can just, I wish I had put it out a long time ago. So she created, and if your audience can watch, so she's created 4 different flavors, and she has come up, with the book, which has all the recipes that you can create using the chutney. So this is somebody who had given up in life. This is somebody who had thought they were just going to probably go on welfare and they can't do anything because of what they called a disability. But we turned that around, and we've just recently created her website. She can now sell from anywhere, and she can distribute these chutneys, pretty much from her home. And it's small things like this. We've helped people that have later on became the Real Housewives of Melbourne launch their clothing brands. We've launched a few books out there that are changing people's lives. So it's so many things that are happening that come through our desk every single day at Livelong Digital, that it's not really you never know who even this video is going to change, or who your work is going to touch. So we just keep working with people up until their businesses are profitable and enjoyable.
I love it. Such great stories. And those successes, I mean, it's so nice, isn't it, to see your clients succeed. They're a real reflection on how you can help people. So for those who are listening to the podcast, the book is called Fusion Safari, if you want to go and check it out. If you like the idea of trying out those chutneys, which I definitely do. So go and have a look at that. Prosper, when you worked on the book is dedicated to Prosper. Oh, that's awesome. You even have a dedicated, that's a sign, Prosper, of how much your customers and your clients care about what you do with them and the effect that you have on them. Speaking of which, what did the Audacious Agency do for you?
Absolutely. So as you would notice, if somebody's listening, they might just think my message or my target market is all over the place. I remember sitting with you, I think that was the beginning of the year, and I was like, okay, we've created this whole thing. We've created all this noise in the marketplace. Can you help us really hone in on our messaging? Can you help us really clarify our message? And can you help us really figure out what media to go for? And I think we said for 45 minutes, and we created a document which now really speaks to the messaging that we have in the business. And also we also went on and picked up a niche. Yes, we can work with other small to medium businesses, but I think we get the most results for coaches and consultants who have an online business that we can sell, for them, with automated messages.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an awesome audience that you've picked, because quite often coaches and consultants talk a lot about the solutions they provide, but very rarely do they talk about the problems that they solve. So they need that presence and that SEO and everything else to be working for them. If you are listening, this is the Audacious Hot Seat, and there are more episodes just like this one available on our YouTube channel, The Audacious Agency, or you can pick us up, The Audacious Agency Hot Seat, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Now, Prosper, if I can get you for a moment to go back maybe to when you first arrived in Australia, everything was new, no contacts, you really weren't sure about what you were going to do. What's some advice you might give yourself 11 years ago to help you to get where you are today?
That is an absolute great question, because I wouldn't be able to tell Prosper from 11 years what to do, because he just did whatever he wanted anyway. But what I can say is leave each day like it counts. You know what I mean? And remember, whatever you do is your choice, and whatever choice you're going to make is going to have repercussions and results later on. Because the best life that you're going to live is very unique to yourself, and do not compare yourself to others. Just focus on living your best life, and the best things will come, those that are aligned for you. And never ever stop learning, never ever stop exploring, and reach out to people like Lorraine, even on a Sunday when you're tired of thinking what's the next thing to do, and ask them, where can I get things published? It will change the projection of what you will be able to do, and all the experiences and the people that you meet along the way. So as you can see, it's not going to be a direct message. It's just whatever you're doing, do it to the best of your ability, because each and everything and every day counts.
I love it. What a great message. And it's so important as an entrepreneur. You've got to have your own back, haven't you? You've really got to support yourself and be able to go, right, what can I achieve today that's going to make a difference? Prosper, in terms of SEO and what you do to help people really grow their brand and their awareness digitally, online, so people can find them, what's one of your biggest tips that you could give to listeners today that they should be doing? And maybe telling them, what could they go and do right now that might help them start to improve that?
Fantastic. There are 3 M's in marketing, and it goes from traditional marketing, digital marketing, or even personal branding. Know who your target market is. People will never listen to marketing that is not directed at them, right? And once you have that target market, make sure you clarify your message. That message has to be so clear that if somebody is a mile away, they will raise their hand and say, yes, Lorraine or Prosper are talking to me based on the fact that I am the right person for that message. And once you've got that target market and that message lined up, determine what is the best media to reach out to those people to. Because if you try and spray and pray and be everything to everyone, then you are literally going to dilute your message. You're probably going to show up in people's newsfeed when you're not welcome, and it's just going to ruin all the efforts that you have done. So make sure you've got your market and your message lined up, and then the media could always vary. So those are the 3 things that I think people should really, really focus on. And then the rest is just noise.
I love it. It's lovely. What I love about the advice you're giving is that it's traditional. It's right place, right time, right message, getting everything aligned. But it is so important these days when there's so much noise and so much overwhelm. Prosper, it's been an absolute delight having you on the show. If the listeners want to know more about Prosper and Livelong Digital, there's a link underneath this broadcast. Please click on that and go and find out more. We've worked with Prosper, and I highly recommend having a chat to him and his team. You just never know what you don't know about your business until you get someone like Prosper and his team looking at it from the outside in, which is awesome. Thank you so much, Prosper, for being here with us in the Audacious Hot Seat. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here. Thank you for your stories and your inspiration. Is there any last thing you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Oh, well, I appreciate you for this platform, Lorraine, and everything that you guys have done for my business. So if anyone is watching and listening right now, I have drank the Kool-Aid.
And it's worth it. And it's awesome. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Prosper. And we'll see you again in the next episodes, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much to our audacious guest sitting in the hot seat today, and to everyone for listening. Remember, be bold, be brave, be audacious. For more, subscribe to the podcast or YouTube channel, or join us in the Rocket Launch Your Business Facebook group. The links are in the description below.